Hi, it's Andy. Another video for us today, Monday, April 13th. And, as we think through moving past Easter now and moving into whatever is next with COVID-19, we know this is a rough experience. It's a challenge for many of us, and we don't like these things, but they are opportunities to grow. And so that's what we are looking to do. That's what we're needing to do. And that's why I keep doing these videos, is to encourage us, because optimism doesn't really lead anywhere ultimately, but hope requires courage and can take us in places. So one of the things that I had planned on doing this year, two real things. One, I wanted to look at biblical study of deserts and water, and the second one was to understand the Sabbath better. And I'm trying to incorporate the Sabbath into my life. I've just been incredibly busy. Saturday, I took a day off. And there were a couple of things that came up, but my first day in 452 days that I actually had a day off. And so one of the things that I decided to do during this time was to do a puzzle. Now, I'm in no hurry to get a puzzle done, but I don't think, other than helping my kids with puzzles when they were young, I don't know that I've done a puzzle since probably since I was a teenager, maybe a couple in college. But now, my son had a unique ability when he was young. My kids loved puzzles. They still love puzzles. But when my son was 18 months, 2 years, I don't know how old, he could, like a 25, 30 piece puzzle, he could put together without looking at the picture. Unbelievable. Just turn all the pieces upside down and he would put it together. I don't think he can do that with 1,000 and 2,000 piece puzzles, but we did give him a puzzle a couple of years ago that had no picture on it. It had nothing. It was just gray. And he and Nicole figured that out in about 3 days. So, maybe that's the case. Anyway, so I'm working on a puzzle, and I'm going to take you over to this puzzle that I'm working on right now. I told my mom I was working on a puzzle, and I showed her, and I showed her the box, and she goes, "Wow, 1,000 piece Thomas Kincaid, you didn't come back light." No, I didn't come back light on this. But the puzzle is a great metaphor for where we are right now. We don't know how many pieces are a part of this puzzle that we're trying to figure out in life right now. This puzzle has 1,000 pieces. I hope they're all there. Andrew would also have fun with taking a puzzle piece away or two and hiding it in his room while his sister was doing a puzzle. And I don't know, I'm sure some pieces have been lost over the years between them. But as I dumped out the pieces the other day, and again, this puzzle, I might just work on it a couple hours a week, and if it takes me months, I don't really care. It's a way for me to free my mind during the day. But as I pulled it out, I dump all the pieces out, and then I start to separate them. And so what do you do when you start working with a puzzle? Well, one thing you do is you find the edges, right? You want to make sure you've got all the edge pieces together, and I've already been able to put a few together here, as you see. And then you start looking for patterns. So, here's some patterns. You have the lights. So Thomas Kincaid has all kinds of light stuff. You have this brick wall or this bridge, that's a part of the overall pattern. And so, there's the light and the flowers over there and stuff. So I've kind of begun to separate. And so as you're thinking through challenges, you look for patterns, and based upon the patterns that you see, how can things begin to fit together a little bit better? But as I was looking at this box, and I was trying to figure out where things went, and I kind of sort things around a little bit in order. I mean, this whole top section is not in any kind of semblance, but I started to put things together, and then I realized, well, there is this purple, which is over here, and there's a corner piece, so that obviously has to go to the top, but that seems like there's a lot more yellow, and that I was really getting a little bit confused. And then I noticed that in this corner, there is Thomas Kincaid, his signature and stuff. And I'm like, well, okay, but that's not on the box. No big deal. I mean, maybe they just added that later, but it's not on the box. But I can tell it's up right side up. It's got to be this corner. But then this is what really threw me. These two pieces right here. They are gray, and it's a corner piece. Now, if you look at this picture, can you show me where a corner piece of gray would be? This is almost black. Maybe you get a little bit of gray here, just maybe. There's none here. There's certainly none here. But there's at least some purplish in there, and I'm like, this does not make any sense to me. And in fact, as I look at this, I might be able to add one more piece. Nope, I can't. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. But here's the box. This is the picture. How can I put this picture? This is a corner piece. There's only 4 corners. So what do we do? And so I'm looking at it, and it doesn't make any sense to me at all. And so I did this, and I realized that, oh my goodness, there's more of the picture. But that's still not gray. So interesting. And then I flipped it over to here. Oh, well, there's a little bit more on the side. I wonder if that shows up at all. Probably not. But then I found the truth. On the back of the box, there's the gray. And the rest of it's the same. Here's the Thomas Kincaid. And so, the rest of it, this corner's not quite the corner that I thought I saw down over here and stuff as well. So it's a different picture on the back of the box than on the front of the box. And so again, I'm not worried about when I get this puzzle piece together, but this is what I was thinking as I was doing this on Saturday evening. Sometimes when we have all these pieces to a puzzle, we think we know what it should look like. But then something happens and it doesn't. And that's kind of where we are right now. There's churches that are meeting differently. Great, fine. There are people that are responding differently, but we don't have all of the data. We don't have all the facts. And yet, even when we think we do, things change. A couple of weeks ago, it was estimated that there'd be hundreds of thousands of Americans. Now they've estimated 61,000 Americans would die. That's still a travesty. But that's a lot different than 200,000. The estimates are coming down. Now, maybe they go back up, but that's my point. The picture is changing even as we talk, even as we have more data, even as we have more of an understanding of what this virus is. But the same is true for the church. And so as we begin to look at how the new picture of church will look, not just Fairfax Baptist Church, but the church as a whole, as we begin to look at that, we begin to say, well, what is this going to be? How's this going to be? But here's what we have to do. Going back to the edges, we have to build a framework. That's what the edges do. They allow us to have a frame. Everything is going to fit inside of a frame as long as we have all the pieces to that frame. And then we can begin to pull a little bit from here and a little bit from there. And eventually we see the picture coming together as it is supposed to be. Now, how long will that picture take us to come together as the church and as Fairfax Baptist Church? It's way too early to know at this point. But if we get all the pieces out on the table, and as new pieces become available and we add those to it, we say, well, we didn't know that, let's pull that in. And we don't need that, let's get rid of that. Whatever it might be, we can begin to put a framework. We can begin to find the pieces, and we can begin to find a few patterns and put them in the right places, and then begin to see how God is orchestrating this picture together and to do something that we otherwise might not see at all. So as I started to put this picture together in the midst of taking a Sabbath, the metaphor for where we're at right now was just so evident to me. And I hope it's evident to you. Again, we don't have all the answers, but little by little, we will find a few answers here and there. And as we put those together, we can come through this. We can have hope. It's going to take courage. It's going to take a lot. But we can have hope that the other side of this, we will be stronger, we will be better, and because of that, we will become the church that God wants us to be at this time.